Yes, I think social perceptions of infectious diseases have become a much bigger preoccupation in society over the last 50 years for a whole number of reasons. I think first of all, people have become much more anxious about their health in all sorts of areas and much more concerned about potential threats to their health from all sorts of environmental factors, of which infectious disease is one. And we've seen a whole series of them, from HIV through SARS, through bird flu and pandemic swine flu, whole series of things. In the UK we've had the mad cow disease scare, all sorts of disease scares that have made people more sensitive to infectious diseases. I think on the other hand that public health authorities and governments have also become much more interested in using threats to health as a focus of political initiatives and as a way of making contact with the public, as a way of improving their authority and creating greater legitimacy for themselves. The moralising role of the new public health is a very significant dynamic, and it's one which has gathered momentum over quite a long period of time. And we see I think in parallel with the decline, certainly in Western societies, of the influence of religious faith in terms of guiding people's moral behaviour, we've seen health playing a much bigger role in that regard. So many things which were traditionally regulated by religious principles, such as sexual behaviour, such as things like alcohol, cigarette smoking, the idea of taking exercise, all these things and now tend to have much more of that people are kind of encouraged to certain forms of behaviour, not because of their particular moral virtue or because they will get their reward in heaven or in some higher place, but because they will contribute to their better health and improve life expectancy. So I think that's a general, very influential dynamic in society over the last few decades. That relates to the pandemic issue in the sense that this is another great health concern, and I think you see that health authorities are always quite keen to promote ways of influencing people's behaviour. It's striking often in quite banal ways. So one of the central themes of all the flu propaganda that comes from public health authorities is that people should wash their hands, they should dispose of tissues. It's all rather petty in a sense, but it creates the general sense that the source of guidance in relation to personal behaviour is to be found in the sphere of public health. This also applies even to the conduct of family life, and one of the most interesting features of the new pandemic strategy in the UK that's only recently been drawn up is to say that there's a role of the head of the household in summoning a meeting almost of the whole family to discuss pandemic preparedness. And so you get the idea of the family, of the household, as a sort of microcosm of the state, whereas where you've got an idea of the whole of society presided over by the head of state or by the public health authorities. Each individual family is one unit of public health awareness, where the head of household has a responsibility to bring the children together of an evening to discuss what arrangements have been made in the family for all sorts of health emergencies. And so that's I think indicates the wider moralising dynamic around these sorts of programs. The general preoccupation with openness and transparency in the relationship between government and the people is a striking theme of contemporary Western societies, and I think it reflects a problem that governments have over their legitimacy and over their authority, and they have the feeling that the only way to win the trust and confidence of people is by opening out their counsel to the public in as wide a possible way, and that because people don't trust them, or because they feel they haven't got the confidence of the people, they feel they can gain it by in a sense putting everything out in the open, that there is no sense of anything being discussed behind closed doors or anything being kept from the people. That has a sort of air of being a move away from any sort of traditional deference towards authority or any sense of paternalism in the relationship of authorities to the people. But it also has a sense of that the responsible experts in all spheres of public life no longer take responsibility for their direction and giving a leadership in society, and in a sense evade that responsibility by throwing it out to the public. So they say, it's not my fault, it's your fault, and it's your responsibility to make decisions about the direction of society, not mine. And so it seems to me, an evasion of responsibility and an abdication of responsibility, an evasion of blame, that if anything goes wrong, that nobody can be held to account because everything has already been out in the open. And so it's something which cuts two ways, in a sense. It does have the sense of being a more democratic and open system, but it also has the sense of a loss of authority and an abandonment of responsibility of those in a position of leadership and expertise in society.